Costanoa's founders always had a metropolitan vision for the peninsula, as evidenced by the gridded downtown street network. In addition to this, they had the foresight to dedicate park space where a future bridge might traverse the bay in the direction of Alameda County on the other side. The introduction of such a bridge will cause a massive increase in through traffic in the county, so the planners from Costanoa County have teamed up with Caltrans, the California Department of Transportation, to come up with a 3-phase plan to prepare for the influx of traffic. So in this episode, I'll outline the 3 phases of this plan, and we'll get started on building phase 1. Before I do any of that though, I wanted to name one of the neighborhoods I created in the previous episode. As a reminder, you can check that episode out and see all the neighborhoods and provide any suggestions for names if you want in the comments of that episode or in this episode. So the neighborhood that I'm going to name and the suggestion that was given was Harlem Heights, and it's going to be this neighborhood right here, the first neighborhood right here. And that name was provided by Xavier Harrison 8363, so thank you for that name. It's definitely a cool name, and you can kind of see like the heights thing also makes a little bit of sense. This is kind of up on a hill above Costanoa's downtown right here, so, and that also provides me a little bit of extra motivation to finish off the rest of this area. The other neighborhoods in Costanoa, as well as the other neighborhoods in Baymont, I'm going to leave just as is right now, and if anyone wants to contribute any names, I'll keep an eye out for that, and probably either next episode or the following one, I'll just go ahead and provide names for the remaining unnamed neighborhoods. Up next, I want to talk about the 3 phases of what I'm going to call the Bay Bridge plan, which is going to be the plan to get the bridge over to the other side here. And if we zoom over here, we can actually see that it stops. Our boundaries are right here, so the bridge won't go all the way, but in essence, the idea is that the bridge will head over that way. Phase 1 of that plan is what we'll be tackling today. And that's going to involve creating a bypass highway that goes from about this sort of an area and then kind of bypasses this over to this junction right here. And then that bypass highway will continue on towards Baymont. The reason for that is I want the traffic that is going to be heading towards Baymont to be able to avoid Costanoa altogether so that we can reduce the overall traffic burden on Costanoa right here. The second part of phase 1 is going to involve this rail spur right here. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to bring in passenger rail to this part of the city right here because there's farmland, so we can easily buy up this land and then place down a passenger rail station. The other part of that is I'm going to have to place down a train depot, and I did a little bit of surveying beforehand, and I think right here is probably the best place to do that just because it is relatively flat right here, and if I look over this way and kind of follow the rail line this direction, you can see that there's just a lot of hilly terrain around here, so it's going to be kind of hard to place down a train depot anywhere else. Like if I look in here, like there is some flat land here, but the train depot is too big for this particular spot. It potentially could fit there, but you can see right here we're elevating the rail to get over this estuary right here. So ultimately, I think the best place for it is right here. That's also benefiting our traffic because it won't have to go, people who work at this train depot won't have to go out of town to get there. They'll be relatively close right here, so that'll be helpful. In phase 2, what I'll be doing is I'm going to upgrade this highway into town, and you can kind of see if I hover over it, it goes all the way into town over here in Costanoa. I'm going to upgrade it into a 4-lane freeway, so that'll be a separated freeway with 2 freeway roads on either side, and then I'll bring that kind of following this, upgrade any sort of interchange that needs upgrading all the way out to here, and I'll probably have to figure out what I'll do with this garbage facility here because I can't do what I'm doing now, which is just have at grade intersection right here. I'll have to figure out something else to do there, and then in addition I'll have to figure out how to deal with that bypass that I'll be creating, and finally how to get into town here, because keep in mind, I will be bringing that 4-lane freeway over in this direction, crossing this open area right here, and then bringing it over to Treasure Island, which is right here. In addition to that, I'm also going to be bringing in a rail freight hub, and I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to be doing that. I've thought about maybe on this little peninsula here. That is a pretty hilly peninsula though, so it may not be the best place. Our rail line is also really not that close. I might consider continuing the train depot, which will be right here, and continuing that out this way, and then putting in some sort of freight hub right here for rail. But the idea there is the same as with the passenger train station, is that if I allow for trains to bring in passengers and freight, it'll reduce the overall burden of vehicle traffic on our new freeways. Phase 3 will be the final phase, and that's going to be getting that bridge over here. At this point, the freeway won't be in place passing over here, but I've got a couple ideas on how to get that freeway over here with minimal destruction to the existing roadway layout as well as the buildings here, because I want to preserve that as best as I can. This is also where I'm probably going to have to reconsider how I bring traffic into Costanoa here. There's going to have to be some sort of interchange that is grade separated. So I don't think I'll actually be building that in phase 2. It's probably going to come in phase 3, and phase 2, I'll probably just bring the freeway directly in as it is right now. And with all that said, I'll get started with building out phase 1. There are 2 things that I actually want to do first though. One is going to be at the place where I'm going to be placing down the interchange for the bypass highway. And if we take a look here, down here, I noticed this earlier, but the highway right here kind of dips down a little bit, and then you can see it dip back up over here. And I just want to resolve that because it just kind of bothered me when I saw it. It's a really easy fix though. And if I zoom in there now, you can see that the road is flattened right here. So that'll be helpful also for the bypass, which I'm going to bring under the bridge here and over in this direction, just because the land over here is pretty favorable for a highway. The other thing that I want to address is something I noticed while zooming around over in this direction, is that we have a person here who is in need of an ambulance. And unfortunately, they are never going to see that ambulance come for, I think, one reason, which is that the facilities I have now for healthcare all cover just the individual neighborhood. So nothing covers the county right now. That's something I did in the last episode for fire, is I added in a fire station that covers the entire county and doesn't just cover specific operating districts. So what I want to do is I want to place a similar facility for healthcare. Because we have some land right here, I think that's going to be the best place to be doing that. So I think probably in one of these open blocks is where I should do that. And like many things, I actually don't have that unlocked. So I'll go ahead and unlock the hospital. I do want that county facility to be a full hospital. And if we look here, we have a couple different options. There's the Japanese hospital, which I think I like the size of that. There's also the UK Hospital General Infirmary, a bit bigger, but I don't really like the building style for this part of Costanoa. There's also the original hospital, which is just absurdly huge. Like if we compare it to our downtown, it like dwarfs the downtown buildings, which is kind of crazy. I think there's another option, the French hospital maybe. Yeah, there is the French hospital, but that's just like too awkwardly sized, I think. So I don't think that is ultimately going to work for us in this area, although I guess it could go right there. But again, I think the building type just doesn't really fit in this area. And then I think lastly, yeah, we have this European hospital. I think it's a nice building, but it's again too large. So I'm going to go ahead and place down this Japanese hospital. If we take a look, there's a couple different options of where to put that. Really, any of these blocks right here should be able to fit it. And I think might be able to go sideways in one of these other blocks. It doesn't really look like it. So it's going to have to be one of these larger blocks here. Alternatively, I could put it, I think, right about here. But ultimately, I don't really want it so close to the fire station. I'd rather have a little bit of separation between the two. And I think I also want to take a look at the grades we have in these particular areas and maybe get rid of some of that. So really what I'm looking at is probably one of these blocks, and I think the larger the block, the better. So it's probably going to be right here on Lindbergh Street is the best option we have. So if I go in there and I place down, I think just right there is good. I'm going to have to do a tiny bit of grading most likely, but not much. And there is one upgrade I could make, which is this health check center. I don't think I'll need it because it has 500 patient capacity, and I think we're well within the patient capacity that we need for the county. Yeah, 800. We only have 122 sick and injured. But yeah, what this gives us is the ability to actually take care of this over here, I think. So this will serve the entire county. I won't be selecting any particular operating districts, and I'm going to go ahead and call this Costanoa County Hospital. And with both of those items out of the way, what I want to do next is start with this bypass highway. What I want to do first is kind of place down the general direction of where the highway is going to be heading. So it's just going to be one of these 2-lane highways, and it's going to kind of head over this way and then follow this rail line sort of this direction. So what I'll do first is I'll place down just this initial piece of highway right here, and then I'll get started with connecting it up to the existing highway. And this is ultimately only going to be a one-way interchange. And what I mean by that is that you're only going to be able to go from this direction over to this direction, or from this direction over to this direction. You're not going to be able to come from Costanoa and then hit onto this bypass highway right here. So there's only going to be one directional on and off ramps. So the off ramp is going to be right around here. And I think what I should do actually first is just upgrade to a 4-lane highway, so I have on and off ramps, and I'll go all the way back probably here. And then I'll actually do just a bit of grading so that I can probably bring this around this electrical pole here. And that is the first side taken care of. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing over here and kind of wrap around this other electrical pole. So I had a few weird things happening and I had to kind of manually fix those. There's still some oddities around, so like this is a little bit weird, but I'm gonna leave it for now because like I said, in phase 2, we'll be upgrading this particular part of the highway into a 4-lane freeway, and that's gonna require me to make a few adjustments here anyways, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it at this point. All that's left now is just a little bit of cleanup, and that's gonna be things like, for instance, this needs to be a one-way segment, and then I just need to do a bit of grading to make things look a little bit more normal over here. And there we go. So the next thing is going to be bringing this highway kind of around this waterway right here and then follow the rail. And I think where it ultimately will go is up this way. And I'm going to have to cross the rail as well as cross this water again over here. So if we take a look at the topography, there is a pretty good spot actually like right here to elevate up because there's not a lot of space right here to get the highway around. So I think what I'll do is I'll elevate up, cross over here, and then probably bring the road down somewhere around here. And I think I'm going to bring it around this hill. And then from there, kind of cross about right here and bring it into this area. So I've got this bridge in place that goes over the rail, and what I'm noticing is that I'm probably gonna have to buy this particular tile here. I could probably get away with getting around just right in here, but I don't really want to put the highway that close to the rail if I don't actually really need to. And we definitely have enough money to purchase an additional tile. So what I'll do is I'll buy this one, and then we can take a look and see that I do probably have enough space to kind of bring this road right here elevated a little bit so that when I need to elevate back up over this water right here, I'm already starting from an elevated position. And that bridge is in place now. I really tried my best to not disturb this particular area as much as possible. Wetland areas like this are hotbeds for biodiversity, and they also provide some natural flood management. So I want to make sure that anytime I see a natural waterway like this, that I'm keeping it as intact as I possibly can. With that in there, the last thing I'll need to do is I'm gonna have to bring this over here somewhere. What I'll probably do is I think I'm just gonna sever this connection over in this direction right here first off, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping Summit Street as intact as possible. So I'll do something like this, wait for this garbage truck to pass, and then I'll delete this segment right here, as well as this and this. So we'll just get rid of all of that. And then I'm going to bring this highway over into this area. And I think that works what I'm going for. It's a little bit curvy, like I'd like for it to be more straight in here, but I think it's okay to just live with a little bit of like awkwardness. Like we're playing within the boundaries we have some sort of constraints to play with. So hopefully I do have enough space right here still to put that train depot. If that becomes an issue, I will change a little bit of this later, but for now I'm just going to keep it as is, and I'll see if that train depot will fit. So as it turns out, I had an issue where OBS was not recording my audio while I was building the rail yard. But basically what I was going over was that the rail yard needs to be sufficiently far away from the main rail line right there so that I could turn it in easily without having to worry about a road being able to cross through there. That is the reasoning behind the placement of the rail depot. The other thing that happened is I realized that the highway going towards Baymont is going to need to be moved a little bit because it was getting a little bit too close to that rail yard. So that's where I'm at now, is I have that highway kind of moved back a little bit and I redirected it onto this hill here. And the reasoning for that is it was just too close right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over probably somewhere around this area and maybe use one of these like islands right here as a crossover point. So if we take a look at where we are right now, what I have to do is kind of get down to about right here, and I think I can make a bridge start somewhere on this hill, so it's kind of taking advantage of the placement of this hill. So what I'll do is I'm going to create a little bit of like a launch pad with the terrain tools. And then that's where we'll start the bridge and we'll just kind of bring it down across here. So it took me a few shots to get the bridge the way I wanted it. It's not perfect. Like I would rather that this pillar right here not be going into the water, but I think that's okay because I got one of them onto this island here, which is what I was going for. And then if we kind of zoom in like at this angle, you can see that it has a gradual slope going downwards towards this landing point right here. And that's what I was kind of working to get, is I didn't want it to just be a straight shot down in terms of slope. I wanted to kind of slope down more gradually. It's kind of hard to get that done, but what I basically did is I created the uniform slope all the way across, and then what I did is I deleted segments and redrew them so that the slope kind of changed over time. So with that in there, all I have to do now is just kind of connect those two up, and I'll probably use the complex curve to do that. And then I will just grade everything out so it looks a little bit more normal. And I think I accomplished my goal there, which was mostly just to maintain this hillside and then this waterway, as well as this landing point here, and kind of maintain the general shape of it in terms of its topography. That's something I'm trying to do kind of all over the place, is make sure that I'm doing my best to kind of keep things looking as natural as possible. I did have to do a little bit of work here, but I think with the grading, it does look a little bit more natural. You can just kind of see it jutting out a little bit here, but I think that is kind of what you might expect for a bridge of this size, that there'd be some work done up front to accommodate for it. Okay, and what we're left with now is I have to figure out how to get this highway over to right here. And you can see that this street right here, Cedar Street, is a little bit in the way. So what I'll do first is I'm just going to shorten that. And what I'm thinking of doing with this end of Cedar Street right here is I'll probably just turn it into a highway on-ramp and off-ramp. So it'll connect in right here to this highway so that it's easier for the freight traffic to get onto this highway should they need to. So as I was contemplating what kind of connection I wanted to put into the foggy highway right here, kind of realized that I think that Cedar Street right here might be well served to be a wider road, just because there's going to be a lot of freight traffic right here. And I think you could make an argument that the larger freight vehicles might benefit from having just a large road right here, making it easier to turn in, to come back onto the street, etc. So while I'm here, I'm just going to upgrade that to a medium road. And this is actually only the, I think, second medium road that I have in the city, the first one being Market Street. So it's kind of a sign of what's to come, I think. I think this will be, in the future, kind of a prominent through street once it kind of crosses the tracks here and goes over in this direction. That is probably going to be part of maybe phase 2 or possibly phase 3 is getting this road over here. And this junction right here, I'm kind of coming in at maybe an odd angle. So I think I'm going to end up having to use a roundabout. The way that I want to do that is I want to make sure I'm coming in pretty much at 90 degrees right here. So I think that'll do. And I think this is just going to have to be as big of a roundabout as I can really get in there. So that's going to be one of these large ones. And I want to make sure I'm using one that has, let's see. Yeah, that has some space right here. This is kind of what I was going for. Like you could theoretically kind of come over this roundabout a little bit. I think I maybe want something a bit different though. Just having nothing in there kind of looks a little bit odd. So you could see a semi-truck needing to make this turn right here and then bringing its left side wheels on top of this curb right here to make the turn. And I'm now looking right in this area, and we have these two streets that kind of come in this awkward way. And I think what now makes sense is actually to just take Summit Street and Shim Street and then just kind of terminate them for right now, right there. And then I can, potentially do something later with this space over here. And let me not kill my city by deleting power lines. But yeah, so now there's a lot of just open space here to build new things. So I think that is about all I want to do for now. I'm considering, and I think I actually will do this. I'm gonna go ahead and put some slip lanes in right here. And let me actually redo that. So the reason I'm putting in this slip lane is that the freight vehicles coming through here would benefit from having that slip lane, basically. So yeah, that's basically why I want to have that in there. Okay, so if we zoom back in here, now you can see that if you want to turn right, you take this slip lane, and then if you want to turn left, you go in this lane right here, and that'll bring you left. So I was just checking my work really quick to see that everything kind of made sense, and I zoomed in right here, and you can tell already that this street right here has this big, huge like lump in it. So I want to do is fix that, and the reason it's happening is just because this rail yard is flattening the terrains area. So basically, I just need to adjust the terrain right here, and then it should fix that. And it turned out to be a much simpler fix than I realized. Basically, once I deleted the road, the terraforming was already in place. I think it was just an artifact of having that road in place before I placed the rail yard. Now it's time to think about the prep work I'll need to do in order to get the passenger rail station in here. So I know that it's going to be probably around right here. So for sure, this farm here is going to have to go, as well as this farm. The other thing that is going to have to go is this water pumping station right here. And before I actually delete that, I'll want to replace it. So I probably don't even have to actually place a new one. I can just move this one, save myself a little bit of money. And yeah, this place up here is a good place for it. And you can see it gets the full 75,000 output. That's something that may have to move later depending on the roadway network in this area. But I think right there should be fine for now. It's just a service use, so having it kind of out in this area is totally fine, I think. That leaves all these trees here that unfortunately I will be deleting. If I need landscaping later on, I'll put that in. Okay, and now we have our space kind of freed up here, and I want to start taking a look at the rail stations. Let me see if I have rail unlocked. Yeah, I did unlock that earlier, didn't I? So what I am gonna look at is, I think this Eastern European train station. The normal one, I don't know if I like that much. There's a couple different train stations now. This medium one is available as well, but the reason I'm looking at this European one is that it has an additional track, and I think that the train station I put in right now is going to be essentially the final train station for the city. Like, I don't expect to be upgrading this, although possibly in the future there might be a better asset available that I could upgrade to, but I'm kind of thinking long term for this train station. Like, I think it's going to be here for a while, and I do like this Eastern European one, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. I am now just thinking about the orientation of it. If I want it to face this way towards like Japantown right there, I could even place it kind of over on this side, facing this way, like right about here. And something I kind of forgot to look at was the topography of the area, and that's pretty important for placing this down. I think I placed in this valley street right here so I could kind of get a sense of where things were, but ultimately I think I kind of have to delete that and do some grading up front to make sure that the building pad I have is nice and flat. And then I'll place this road down here after doing that grading, so I can kind of see how things look afterwards. Hopefully this train station still fits in nicely. I think it will. I'll just have to push it a little bit out that way. That right there is perfectly centered, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's take a look again here. Yeah, this is the thing I was kind of trying to avoid, was getting this too much on a hill, but I think right there is actually about as good as I'm going to be able to get that. So let me kind of fix up the terrain over here. Yeah, so I think that is pretty good. It's a little bit lower down, so it's a bit more favorable for bringing in the rail line right here, as you can see. The other thing that I want to do before I get that started is I actually want to make sure that I have this side connected up right here, because you can see there's some access points right there. So What I'll want to do is I'm going to use some of these small pedestrian streets to make this connection, and maybe I'll just use one large one there, and then one large one right here. And then I'll bring a small one in this way. And I'll probably just bring it all the way through there. And then in addition, I can bring one all the way through this side. So then, yeah, we just have pedestrian access on both sides now. There is a little something right here that is possibly available. So what I'll do is I'll do something like this, I think, so that we get kind of a nice little loop through here. And that'll allow me to also put some buildings there or something. And the reason I left this space, you can see that it's 2 units. So that allows me to either put some pocket parks or even some buildings there if I wanted to. So this is kind of where things will get a little bit weird, is we have Shim Street right here, which is a little bit in the way at the moment. So what I may need to do is delete this one segment right here so that I can get the rail through more easily. I think on this side, I'll probably keep it, and then I'll bring in another road this direction. Let me go back in and make sure that my naming is still correct. So I want this still to be named Shim Street. So you can see that naming carries all the way through. So now what I'm able to do is I'm going to be able to much more easily make my connections in here. So let me get that started. And let's take a look at this right here. I think that looks fine. I was a little bit concerned that this angle might be a little bit awkward for having this junction right here, but I think it's okay. And then the last thing to do in here will be to make this connection, which should be an easy one. And let me double check that that kind of looks okay. Yeah, you can kind of see that these sorts of connections can be a little bit wonky. So let me redo that, see if I can get a little bit better. And I think ultimately that looks a little bit better. This is a bit of a sharp angle right here, but I think that's okay. The other way that I was doing it with the complex curve tool, it was just kind of making it very like wobbly. So having it more consistent is what I'd rather have in the end. And with all of that in place now, what I can do is I can probably start making routes. So I have 0 out of 10 vehicles in use, and I think the only route I actually can make right now is just out of the city right here. So I'll get that going. And in the future, there might be other routes like within this area here, or I could even go over in this direction, possibly even across the bay with an underground tunnel. For now, I'll just stick to the one route, and then in phase 2, I think I'm also going to include a freight rail station somewhere in probably this area somewhere. But yeah, for now, I'll just get the one route going. So in the Bay Area, we have Caltrain. It's the train system that serves the Bay Area. So there's also Amtrak that comes through, but I'm going to stick with Caltrain, and then I'll just name it for now Caltrain Costanoa to South Bay. And then I think probably 2 trains is more than what we'll need. I'm going to have to just let things play out for a while. And let me see the ticket price. I think $8 is fine here. The other thing that I want to make sure I check is my buses. So that one route over to Baymont, I believe that's this route. Let me make the other lines invisible here a little quick so we can see this one line. Yeah, so I think it's this line that goes over to Baymont. Indeed it is. So that line is getting a ton of usage, and I'll want to add in at least 1 bus, but probably a little bit more than that. Let me take a look at it. We've got 6 buses now, and let me check to my bus availability over here at the bus depot. And we have 4 vehicles left. So I will go ahead and I will put at least 2 of those over here. Actually, let's go up to 10. So we've added all of those 4 vehicles right there. The other thing I'm actually thinking about while I'm on this topic of transportation is ultimately we're gonna have to have another bus route that goes over to the train station and hits one of our hubs right here. preferably the one where Baymont intersects right here. So that is definitely something to consider. Really the only other option right now is actually this bus right here. So I could see actually this one. This is what, CMTA 2. I think this one will probably see an uptick in usage. We're at 31% now, so we'll kind of see over the course of the episode. Maybe I'll just leave it for now. That might be enough. The other thing I want to make sure I have in place is, rather than this being going out to Barney, I just want this to be South Bay. And then the same will go for our road connection over here. And that's just to match what I had done with the naming convention for the train line itself. And now there's really only one thing left, which is to detail this train station. I think I'm going to leave this block right here empty for now, and I'll kind of think about what I can put there later, but I just want to get the surrounding area in right here detailed, just because we already have some existing homes in this area. So I added in some of these Japanese mixed density homes right here, and I'm actually not exactly sure how I feel about the way that they look, particularly these two right here. I think these are okay, but these ones with all the cars parked out there, I think it just doesn't really make sense for what I'm going for. So I'm gonna go ahead and just remove those, and I'll try to replace them with something that makes a bit more sense, which might be just the Japanese low density here. We'll see what that looks like. And I can already kind of tell, I don't think I'm gonna love that, but I'll let it build in because it has like this corner architecture. So I'll see what it looks like. And this one I think makes a little bit more sense, just because at least the parking is over here on Underhill Street rather than right here. It does have like kind of a nice footprint as far as its placement, and I don't mind this side being kind of empty right here just because it's next to the rail right there. And I think it'll kind of blend in well with the detailing I do on this side right here. So I just placed down this fencing, and I don't have the modded line tool, so I kind of had to do a little bit of a hacky way of using the line tool to make these fences line up at least pretty well. You can see they're kind of somewhat jaggedy, but I'm okay with that little bit of imperfection. The way I did it is I put the distance down as small as it would go, and then I just kind of, you can tell here that the spacing is, that's not the spacing you want for a fence. But the nice thing is that these fences are 2 meters in length. So if you do this and then you kind of go over here and then you do that again and then you go here, you basically get a nice fence pretty quickly. That was a little bit rushed, but if you take your time, you can get a pretty good fence much quicker than placing down each of those fences individually. So if you want to do that kind of a thing in vanilla, that's the way I'd go about doing it. And that is all I'm going to do for now on the detailing front for this new train station. The reason I've stopped here is that, like I said, I want to dedicate some more time to this block right here, and that kind of extends over into this area as well. So I stopped basically short right here, and then did everything kind of up until this point here on that side of the train station. For a quick review of what I've done, let me go in here first. So on this side on Crest Street, I just placed down some basic EU low density commercial, and then on the other side of it, I've just added in some basic landscaping, and then I took some time to detail out this area right here and add in just like a little service area for the train station. I even added in some decals, which I think are pretty cool. And if we go over here, there's just a little bit of a trash pile, some trash cans, and then I just kind of added in some props, thinking about maybe the different kind of props that the train station might use, like maybe they bring these out if there is some maintenance that needs to be done or anything like that. And then just kind of added in some barricades back here that maybe they use, I don't know, when they need to block certain things off. These spools, no idea what those would be for, but I think they look pretty cool, so I added those in there, and then just a silo right here that carries who knows what. Something that the trains need though. And then if we continue over this way, I kept in these two Japanese mixed housing assets here. I think they look cool just like on that corner right there. They kind of create this U shape, so I like how those look. And then I kept in as well this low density business asset from the Japan pack. And then as we continue on this way, what I did is I added in a UK pub right here, and it just fits in really nicely. It's the right size. It's that 2 units wide, and then it's 3 units deep. So I just added some trees on the other side, and then in front added a few assets and extended the surfaces out to the edge here. And then the one weird thing, and I'm just gonna have to ignore this, but I keep seeing it, is like this fence juts up, and that's just because there's a little, tiny bit of terrain here, and then this like little playground also kind of does the same thing. But all in all, I do like how that asset looks right there. And then here I just put in 2 pocket parks and then did some basic extension of their surfaces and added in 1 surface in between just to kind of break things up. And then finally on this side, I added in 1 EU commercial asset, and I actually really like how this one looks. It has pretty good architecture on all 4 sides. So I think it really fits in well there. And then it butts up against these 2 low income residential towers right here. I think it's pretty common to see like a tower of this size next to a train station like this. And it provides just like a little bit of density. And I've actually lived in a place that was just like this, right next to a rail line, right next to a train station. And it was one of these big towers, and it was meant for student housing. So that's the kind of the use that I'm thinking of in this particular area. And as I was putting all this stuff in, I did notice that we have a waiting for a hearse symbol here. And that is just because we are at capacity on our crematorium availability. So what I want to do is I want to add in this UK parish church, and the place that I want to do that I think is probably just right here off of Market Street. Not necessarily a particular reason for that, but just I want it to be kind of close into the residential here as well as close to Market Street. And then I know there's some extensions on here, and I might as well just put those on just to kind of fill the whole thing out. And that'll be like kind of a church / graveyard. And I like the size of it. It fits perfectly in this block. So I think that should suit our needs pretty well. I'm going to have it cover kind of everywhere right now. I think if I go over here and check out our crematorium, this is just covering, this is just covering Costanoa. And then we've got one over in Baymont that's just covering Baymont. So I'm going to leave that right there. And I'm seeing a few other things catch my eye. One is this right here, which this is, okay, that's just a crash, and that's causing a huge traffic jam. Not much I could do about that, to be honest. The only thing I can really do is wait, but I was a little bit concerned that there might be some traffic here for another reason, but it's really just that car crash. The other area that I was noticing is, I think maybe right here where we're getting some traffic back up. Yeah, so we definitely are, and that is this highway now backing up. And I don't know, maybe this bypass highway might help with that, but we should be able to actually see how much traffic these things are getting if we click on that right there. I kind of forget how to use this thing actually now that I'm looking at it, but it doesn't look like we're getting a ton, to be honest. So I think a lot of people are still going over this way in this direction. So this is something we might have to reconsider how this is being done here. I also have some plans for this forest highway, including possibly just taking it out, but that is to be determined, and I'm gonna see how these other phases of my transportation plan play out. I don't know what this train is on about. Let's take a look. So it wants to go to South Bay, and for some reason it stopped right there. I'm curious what is causing that. Let me see if I can kind of wait this out and see what happens. Okay, and we're on the move now, so I actually want to pause and see if there's anything down over here that caused that to happen. My thinking is maybe the train came in this way or something, but it definitely doesn't look like anything is coming in this direction. So I'm not entirely sure what was... Oh, it's right here. Interesting. So I don't know. Something is happening with this train that was causing that. Yeah, so they're going kind of passing each other that way. This one is going there. I don't know what is causing that to happen. Let me see if I can follow this one and see if anything odd happens. Yeah, so basically what I was looking for there is if there was any point where it kind of hopped over onto the other side of the track or did anything kind of funky. It doesn't really look like it did, but I'm having the same issue here where this one is not wanting to continue this way, and it might be this right here, I think, is an issue. So I may need to just redo this track really quick. Okay, and I think I kind of see what's going on is if I keep upgrading this rail right here like this, it just keeps moving that junction out. So I think something's going wrong with that. I also kind of messed this up when I did all this, so let me see if I can fix that. I don't know that I'll be able to necessarily very easily. And it does look like it was fairly easy. And what I want to see now is this train, yeah, it looks like it will stop probably right here again. And in fact, it does. So what that is telling me is that I'm gonna have to do something with that. And what I think it's probably gonna be is if I take this upgrade tool and I kind of just bring it this way, maybe all the way into each of our stations, and we'll see if that causes this thing to start moving, and it does, and it stops there now. So I'm kind of confused which direction I'm actually supposed to make this go, and I may have to go all the way back to the beginning. So let's see what happens when this train... Oh yeah, you can tell right now this train is coming back on that side for some reason. So this is interesting, and I think it is kind of important to know that these double train tracks seem to have some sort of directionality to them. So what I'm gonna have to do, yeah, I'm just gonna keep bringing this over. Oh, that didn't... Train did not like that, but that, yeah, it doesn't fix it quite. But this one's keeps going that way. So I'm gonna just keep upgrading these things all the way back, kind of as far as I can go. Oh, and I'm not gonna own these tiles is the problem. Okay, that might have... Oh, no, you can still see it in here. So I'm kind of running into a bit of an issue here. And what I think is going to happen is this train's going to come back, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be wanting to swap over sides over there. Let's see, though. Yep, and it does in fact stop right here. So that is gonna be an issue because I otherwise have to buy all these tiles so that I can fix this. So what I ended up doing off camera is I temporarily added the Anarchy mod into the build so that I could fix all the railways all the way back to the edge of the map over here. And that did end up fixing things, and we'll see just in a second here. I've got these trains, one's right here and the other should be coming over here. You can see they are passing each other now. They should pass each other in just a moment. So yeah, basically what I did is I came through all of these tracks over here and then fixed the railways. And then I also took that opportunity to kind of fix up some of these tunnels in here. So some of them were looking a little bit wonky, and I think this one, I don't know, it seems to maybe have reverted itself back again to kind of its wonky looking state, and for some reason they seem to do that, but they look okay now, I guess. But yeah, so ultimately I got these now to work, and they are passing each other, both of these trains. So we should be able to see those coming through pretty consistently now. The other thing I just noticed when I was over there is like we seem to have a lot of these waiting for hearse icons, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on there since I did just add extra crematoriums. We're just getting a lot of deaths, it seems. So let me go ahead and quickly see what's going on over at our new facility right here. And I think maybe the processing speed is just not that high. So let's go ahead and check this one out and compare those. Yeah, the processing speed of that one is just actually very low. So let me go ahead and I'm going to do one thing first, which is I'm going to make this no longer a county facility, and I'll probably just serve maybe this side right here. Yeah, so it's now just serving over here. And then I think I'm going to need a larger facility as well to cover everything in the county. And where that'll go is probably somewhere in this region over here as well. So I've got that over here next to some of our other facilities in this general area. This one is going to serve the entire county, so I'm just going to leave it as is. And if I can, maybe I can add some additional capacity as well, just since this is a larger facility. And there we go. So I think this one also, maybe I can add in some additional storage there. This other hearse garage, I shouldn't need that, I think, at this point. Let's go ahead and check and see what our death care availability is. It is right at the edge right there, it looks like, as far as the crematorium availability. I don't know that adding extra hearses will help. That's something we're just going to keep having to keep an eye on in the future going forward. For now, though, I am going to leave things there. As a quick reminder of what we got done today, I started my first phase of the transportation plan that I have, and the overall goal of that transportation plan will be to get Costanoa County linked up with Alameda County on the other side of the bay. In phase 1, we created a bypass highway over to Baymont, and then we added in some rail infrastructure as well as a passenger rail station near downtown. The addition of that station should be bringing more people into Costanoa County and spurring on new development in the area around it. In phase 2, what I'll be doing is expanding the highway into town into a 4-lane freeway. As part of that, I will also be adding interchanges where necessary, and then I'll also be adding in a freight rail hub to the city. All of this is in anticipation of phase 3, which will be connecting the county over to Alameda County via the bridge. So I want to make sure that I have some measures in place to alleviate road traffic before I do that. But that'll do it for this one, and I will see you in the next one.